What's up, guys? This is Ray J, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down some important news coming out for Tesla and what President Trump just said that's very important that could be affecting the whole stock market, causing a lot of volatility. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or sign up with my QR code that's right over here. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of the stock. Deposit $10,000 to get $300 worth. Deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free NVIDIA. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon. So if you want some free NVIDIA shares, please check out my links down below. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So as far as Tesla's going, you guys could quite clearly see we've been making lower highs for the last couple of days. So we had this high that was established on Wednesday, and since then Tesla's been downtrending a bit, retesting our 50 EMA. Now there's some big support at 328. This also aligns with this resistance becoming support right over here, and at the same time we should see a small bounce at least from here. But as time goes on, the question is, will the trend continue? Will we keep on making lower highs on Tesla that eventually take us down to dip even more? Well, right now, what I'm seeing in the markets is that tech is looking a bit weaker. Nvidia is starting to trend down a bit. The QQQ, NQ, the Nasdaq are starting to slow down, but the overall market is still kind of flat for the most part. So there is somewhat of a downwards pressure in the markets, but simultaneously we are flat. And there are some risks right now, especially after what President Trump just said. So I'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. But Tesla is kind of getting dragged into this, and that's the very interesting thing right now. When you look at the daily time frame, Tesla is also showing some weakness. We had this wick right here, we came down, lower high right here, came down, made a lower high, then it came down. So it's continuing to make lower highs, and the daily does suggest there could be a little bit more downside coming. So I just want to give you guys a warning about that. And we're going to see what the news ends up telling us about Tesla. How is that going to be affecting Tesla as well? So let's first talk about the news, and I'll break down more details about the chart. So as far as Tesla's going, Tesla wants to raise the prices of its Model S and X, but that's going to be with a bundle that includes FSD. So you have to make that very, very important distinction. They're not just like raising prices like that, it includes the bundle. They're also going to bring back free supercharging, but this is important because they're launching this new package where they raise prices by about $10,000, but it's going to be including the full self-driving package, free supercharging for life, premium connectivity, and a bunch of very, very awesome things. There's going to be premium service for like 4 years. So that could really help sales, at least to some extent, especially if we start to see more buyers stepping in. But simultaneously, for those who are interested in FSD, I think that this could be very useful for them. Hopefully this helps sales at least to some extent, but this also depends on other factors. Another factor that could be impacting their sales is going to be Tesla's ability to see more sales due to the urgency of the federal tax credits coming to an end in September. At the end of September, so that's about like 6 weeks from now, we have the ending of the federal tax credits. That could also incentivize sales since people want to secure them as soon as possible. Also, there's been some reports about how Tesla's overall supercharging network is just getting more and more reliable, and they're leading in advancements. As we're going to see more of them, they're going to be leading EVs, which is a very, very big business for Tesla. Energy storage and their ability to supply energy is a big part of Tesla's gains as well. Some data came out from Roland. He was talking about how in Europe, Tesla had about 2,100 sales. They were reported for the week of August 4th through the 10th. That's up 8.5% week over week. But overall, let's be very, very clear that they're actually down about 20.1% year over year. And this includes data from the UK, Norway, the Netherlands, Denmark, and many other countries. So that's 60% of the sales in Europe. Right now, sales are still down a bit, and we'll see if things get offset as time goes on. Now, looking at our data, I just want to say that right now, Wedbush is still saying Tesla's going to outperform the markets. And historically, Tesla tends to be green only about like 52% of the time on Mondays. So it tends to be more of like a flat day. And then the month of August tends to be like a more neutral month for Tesla. Same thing with September. There's not really a whole lot that goes on. But historically, November, December do tend to be stronger months. So we could be setting ourselves up for some nice price action towards the end of the year. Now, why is tomorrow going to be an important day? Well, there's actually not much coming out for tomorrow, but we do have some things coming out involving President Trump. I'll talk about those in just a second. Tomorrow is going to be Monday, August 18th. We have at 10 a.m. some minor housing data, but at 11:30 a.m. we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. That could cause a little bit of volatility, so look for volatility then. But on Tuesday, we have some building permits data, then Volman from the Fed giving a speech. On Wednesday, we essentially have the FOMC minutes. That could be a lot more impactful. And then, on Friday, we have Jerome Powell giving a speech, which is going to be a lot more impactful as well. So you want to keep that in mind. And then when it comes to our data, keep in mind that on Tuesday, we have the Home Depot announcing earnings. On Wednesday, we have Target and TJ Maxx. And then on Thursday, we have Walmart and Ross. So lots of retail between Tuesday and Thursday. When it comes to President Trump, we have some important news that's come out from him. He met up with Vladimir Putin. He said they had a very productive meeting. He also said that he's very open to meeting up with Zelensky and Putin at the same time. But these negotiations weren't really enough to shake the markets much. The market was still kind of flat as a result of the options chain. And we're going to see if the market could try to bounce or not afterwards. But for now, the market still remains as is. Now, we had some more big updates from President Trump I wanted to talk about. And this is very important news. One, when he was going to his meeting with Putin, he actually said this. This is a quote from President Trump. He said, "I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips. Chips and semiconductors will be setting sometime next week or the week after." That's what President Trump said. He said, "I'm going to have a rate that's going to be 200% or 300%." And we didn't get specific numbers, but he is talking about how he wants to increase the tariffs again to 200, 300% on semiconductors. That's a massive update from President Trump. He also said that they're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. He made that very, very clear. President Trump said that the U.S. is going to come out on top of China. We're going to have some great deals. He mentioned that he wants to see things built in the USA and that his goal is to ultimately collect a lot of money from the tariffs so that he could eliminate taxes on people making under $200,000 per year. That's what he said he wants to do when it comes to federal income taxes. Then he mentioned that he wants to continue to do what's necessary because he wants to use the tariff revenue to pay off the U.S. national debt. That's what President Trump was saying this morning, but that's pretty much it from him. But he is still threatening very high tariffs on semiconductors either this week or next week. They're going to be announced. So be prepared for that in case we do get some big announcements from him. President Trump is also saying that, the same things again about how his tariffs are going to put the U.S. on top and that he wants to see Jerome Powell lower interest rates, which is something he might address very soon. So those are some big pieces of news so far involving the markets. And then right now, when it comes to our sentiments, the market's still at greed. It still is showing signs of greed. Momentum is at greed. The put to call option ratio is kind of like at extreme greed, but the VIX is quite neutral right now. So we're going to see if that changes or not. With that being said, let's focus on the charts. What do I think is going to happen from this point on? I'm just going to talk about charts and nothing else. So Tesla is not looking that great. When you zoom out a lot, okay, Tesla is still technically trying to make higher lows on the much bigger picture, especially as we try to break out of the pennant that we had. But for the shorter term, okay, for like right now, things are looking a little bit different for Tesla. We're actually in this very, very big consolidation phase. So since June, as Tesla pumps to like the 360s to 350s, we tend to reject in this range. But as we dip down to like the low 300s to high 290s, we like to bounce. So overall, we're just kind of like stuck in the middle. So please keep that in mind. We're still stuck in the middle, not really doing a whole lot. So for now, we're just kind of stuck. One thing I want to say is that when you look at Tesla, we're actually making lower highs here. But a high here came down, and a lower high came down, lower high came down, and we're still technically doing this. So we're going to see if we bounce or not, but for now, we're actually making lower highs. On the daily time frame, we're dipping as well. We have 319 to 316 as our main support, so we're going to see if we bounce. But I do anticipate that we could be dipping a bit more as a result, at least on the next couple of days. Also, it's worth mentioning that Nvda is showing some weakness. Nvidia is showing weakness and Nvidia is supplying Tesla with these chips. So any news about how there's high tariffs and semiconductors affecting Nvidia and AMD is also going to have somewhat of an effect on Tesla. The market's kind of flat right now, but notice that tech, especially the QQQ, is starting to slow down to some extent, and we're starting to respect a bit of a downtrend on the shorter term. So I say this because this is what's dragging Tesla down, at least to some extent. Tesla's starting to respect a bit of a downtrend. So if you start drawing out your channel like this, you can see that this is like our resistance. It's kind of like around here. You could also redraw it kind of like this. But nonetheless, there is this resistance right here. And then our support is kind of like at this lower trend line, just like this. So this is like the channel that Tesla's in. This could be a potential flag forming on Tesla unless we get some kind of breakout. But for now, Tesla's favoring a move just like this, where we're just consolidating and making lower highs. If you want to be a bull, you want to see Tesla get back above 340. If we reclaim that, we could be bouncing a lot more to break out. If you're a bear, you want to see Tesla fail at 328. If that fails us, I'm looking for 320 or below. My prediction, however, is a bit of both. I think Tesla tries to bounce a little bit, tries to get back up to 335 to retest the upper range right here. And then if we can't break it, we might continue to downtrend like this and then start to dip back down to the lower 320s. I think Tesla's going to be doing something like this until we attempt to eventually break out or not. But for now, we're sort of like consolidating. We're also on a downtrend. We're making like lower highs. So I think Tesla continues this to start off the week until we get another catalyst. If President Trump starts announcing the high tariffs on semiconductors, that could greatly affect Tesla as well, and that could also slow us down. So this is what I'm predicting, for Tesla. Look for a small bounce towards 335, and we'll see if we reject and continue to downtrend. That's what I am predicting, at least thus far, so keep that in mind. That's going to be very, very key for how we end up moving, but look for a rebound for 335, then we may continue to downtrend, at least moving forward. For SPY, we're technically making higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, and we're going to see how it ends up going. If you end up losing 642 to 640, so this is where this resistance is, you could be dipping all the way down to like 638 or below. So if we lose the 640 area, it's going to be like a more bearish sign. But if we bounce right here, if we could bounce off 642, we're looking for an attempt to get to all-time highs. We need to break the all-time high to be bullish to start breaking out higher. When you look at SPY on the daily time frame, what you'll see is that we've been trying to uptrend. We've been trying to go higher, but then last 3 days, it's been completely range bound between 646 and 642. We're kind of like stuck in the middle. So that's all I'm saying for now. When you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're still kind of stuck like this. So we're going to have to see how it goes. My guts tells me that when it comes to SPY, okay, I think the odds favor that SPY is going to retest 642 or so. We might try to bounce. I think there's going to be an attempt to bounce tomorrow. But here's the thing. Can we take out this high? If we can't take out this high, this could start to turn back down like this and start to follow the QQQ and begin to dip for like 640. So I would not be surprised if we make a move like this unless we get back above 646 to be bullish. If we bounce, make a lower high, this might consolidate and start to dip a little bit. So I want to give you guys a warning about that because President Trump is threatening the very, very high tariffs on semiconductors, and there's other factors that could be affecting us. So be careful if the market starts to consolidate and dip a little bit. I do anticipate a move like this on SPY, so keep that in mind. For the QQQ, it's very similar. Notice the QQQ is on a slight downtrend for like the more short term, and this is being led by Nvda. If we break past 580, there's going to be an attempt to get back up to all-time highs. But if we lose 575, the previous, very close to this resistance, that's now becoming support. If we lose 575, expect us to dip to 572 or below. My guts tells me this might retest like 580 for a temporary bounce. Then it could reject and start dipping for 575 just like this. So keep this in mind as time goes on. We could get a breakout out of this flag just in case, but I just anticipate for now we're going to be kind of like shopping around like this for the time being. We're continuing to make lower highs right now for the shorter term. So this might bounce for like 580, but if we can't take out these highs over here, it could reject and start dipping back down to 575 just like this. So please keep that in mind, especially as time goes on. That's going to be another strong possibility. For the IWM, we're actually making lower highs right here. We have resistance around this 230 area. If that breaks, we're going to be going higher. If we lose 226, we're going to be looking for essentially 224. For now, we're just range bound here, so we could be retesting the 230 areas resistance and support at 226. We might consolidate like this, and we're going to see if we turn back down or not to make those lower highs. So for now, we're just kind of range bound. We're going back and forth between supply and demand, and we're kind of stuck in the middle, so give this some time. But I anticipate that 230 to about 226 is going to be our resistance and support. Sorry, 226 is support, and then 229 is our resistance. I think we're going to bounce for 230 and kind of consolidate for now. So I just see some sideways price action like this. Not really a whole lot that's going on. Unless we lose 224 to be bearish or break 230 to be bullish, we're kind of stuck in the middle. So I anticipate some sideways price action for the time being. On ES, we're barely holding support right now. We have this like lower trend line acting as support. We're making higher highs and higher lows. Now, if you want to be a bull, you need to see us basically bounce, get back above 6,500 to break out higher for new all-time highs. If you're a bear, you want to see us fail around 6,450 to start dumping. I do think might get close to like 64.50, and we'll see if we bounce back up. We might come up just under 6,500. If we can't break that, look for some consolidation and a move back down like this. We could be looking for like a double top leg pattern. In case we do end up turning, I'm looking for a move like this. Look for a temporary bounce. Once we get close to like that 64.50 area, then we could reject and start turning downwards. There's a strong possibility for this, so be very, very mindful of that. Now, NQ is leading the QQQ, and notice that we're starting to downtrend, making lower highs here. Might bounce a bit towards just under 24,000. We need to hold above 24,000 to be bullish. If we come short, we could retest 23,700, and that's going to be our range. 23,700 to 24,000. Then we're going to see if this ends up turning down or not. As you can tell, we're just kind of like range bound here. So look for an attempt for 24,000 and then some consolidation. And we'll see if we end up turning back down or not. For Bitcoin, we're technically making lower highs here. We're range bound between 118,000 and 116,000. We could dip towards 117,000. We'll see if we bounce, but overall, we're just kind of like stuck in the middle. So I anticipate some sideways price action. We might be retesting this resistance and coming back down like this, and we'll see how it ends up going as time goes on. For Tesla, like I said before, we're technically on a shorter term downtrend, although this could be like a bull flag. We're going to see if it breaks out or not, but I think it might retest 335 and just kind of like consolidate like this for some time until we attempt to break out again. We'll see just to be safe, but I anticipate some sideways price action as we continue to downtrend temporarily. And we'll see how it goes. If President Trump announces high tariffs on semiconductors, that could cause a temporary move down. So keep that in mind and be prepared just to be safe. For Nvda, we're not looking that great. Notice Nvidia is making lower highs. For the shorter term, it's just kind of like consolidating. We also had this rising wedge like pattern. We're starting to slow down from it. I want to see Nvidia get back above 184 to be more bullish, or lose 178 to be bearish. I anticipated pushes for like the low 180s and consolidates before it starts to dip for like 177 or below. I'll be watching that just to be safe. When it comes to Aapl, we have a bearish divergence. We're going to be looking at support at 229 to see if it holds. We might retest 229 and consolidate. We need to get back above like 235 to bounce. Look for 229, some consolidation. Then we're going to see if this dips back down for 226. So keep that in mind. Netflix, however, has a very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders like structure. If we lose 1220, we're going to be dipping lower, but I anticipate some consolidation, then an attempt to push for like 1250. We'll see if it breaks or not, but overall, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. For MSTR, we're making lower highs here. We have a nice double bottom. We could attempt to push back up for essentially 380, then we'll see if we reject or not off of that. But overall, we're still kind of like on a downtrend. Celsius looks more bullish. We're making higher lows here. We could be looking for 58 to 59 as our resistance. It might continue to uptrend for 58 plus, so keep that in mind. Supermicro is also range bound right now, so be very, very mindful of that. We have this resistance around this 46 area and support at 44. So I just see some sideways price action like this. But if President Trump announces those new semiconductor tariffs, that could slow us down. So be very mindful of that just in case. I think Palantir bounces temporarily and retests 181, and we'll see if it rejects off that or not. There might be a temporary bounce though, so watch and see if we get that bounce. For Rivian, we're likely going to try to bounce for essentially 12.5. We'll see if that breaks before it attempts to go even higher. SoFi is looking more bullish. We're holding our 20 EMA, so it might try to uptrend for essentially 24.5 for a temporary move up. AMD is looking weaker. So we did go up to 185 like we were talking about earlier, but notice that we're consolidating a bit. I do think it's going to bounce for like 180, and we need to hold above that. If not, we could turn back down towards like 174 like this. So be very, very mindful of that and be careful. So we'll see how it ends up going. For ARM, we're making lower highs. Notice that we kind of rejected off our EMAs right here. So we're going to see if we get back above 140. If not, we could continue to downtrend back down towards 135. So keep that in mind. For PayPal, we're watching 69 as our support. We could consolidate. We're going to see how this ends up dipping back down towards like 68 just to be very, very safe. Coinbase has resistance right here at these EMAs, so it might be retesting essentially 321. And then it might dip back down to fill this gap here as we have a head and shoulders, so there might be some downside coming. Amazon might be dipping back down to 226. Unless we get back above 232, I am favoring once again that 226 area. We're going to see if it bounces or not off of that. Semiconductor tariffs could affect this. Meta is going to retest 780. We need to bounce off this. If not, we could be dipping lower. I think we consolidate between 780 and 800 for some time. So look for a test of 780 and some consolidation. Google might retest 203, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. And then Microsoft is on a downtrend. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs on Microsoft. Unless we get back above 523, we're actually favoring an imbalance flow towards 515 or below. The VIX is technically in a downward channel, but we're going to see if this breaks out above 15.8 or not. Could attempt to get up to 15.8, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see if we get some kind of bounce from here or not. Technically, it's on a downtrend, but let's see if we get back above 15.8. The 10-year is going to likely be testing 4.35. We'll see if we bounce or not off of that. And then we have the dollar, which is kind of flat alongside crude. There's not really a whole lot that's going on. So as a reminder, the overall market is kind of flat. We might see SPY bounce a little bit tomorrow morning before it consolidates. Same with the QQQ. It might bounce a little bit in the morning before it continues to this downtrend. So be careful. And if President Trump starts announcing these new tariffs on semiconductors, that could also slow the market down and cause more volatility, so be ready just to be safe. Tech is leading us so far, and this is causing Tesla to downtrend, so we're going to see how Tesla ends up doing. This might attempt to rebound a bit. There could be a small rebound attempt, but then we'll see if this continues to essentially downtrend like this before it attempts to break out to the upside or downside. For now, this is what I'm seeing Tesla doing, just continuing to consolidate on a slight downtrend. So that's my short-term projection for now. I'm still a very, very big bull for the long term, but this is just a short-term projection, so please remember that, guys. Anyways, that's it for this one. I thank you all so much for listening. That's my prediction for tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow before market open to give you guys another update. Until then, enjoy your guys' weekends, your day, nights, your evenings, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.